So the final academy prospect from the video I made just a few days ago is Niall McAndrew. We're going to take a look into his career as a whole from when data came onto transfer market. I'm going to talk a little bit about my experience watching him as an analyst in the 2022-23 season, and we're going to take a look into all his data throughout the last campaign and the 22-23 season, as well as his international football, because that's something which I think is absolutely massive for the development of a player within a Category 1 academy, and especially one that could make the grade at first team level. So I'm now going to get into looking into Niall McAndrew. So you might ask, who is Niall McAndrew? He is a 17-year-old versatile midfielder who has been capped at international level for the Republic of Ireland. And in my opinion, from what I've seen of him while I was an analyst at the club, I think he has big prospects for the future. And I do think over the next 12 to 18 months, I think he's going to make a real step up in his development as he comes to the end of his second year scholar. I think he goes into next season. I think he is going to really put on a show for the 21s and hopefully get himself an opportunity to play for the first team, whether that be in cup competitions or off the bench in a league match. I think it's something which, if you have not done so already, make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button while you're down there, and let me know your thoughts on Niall McAndrew. Do you think he's going to make it to the first team? Do you think Paul Warne is going to give opportunities to these young players to really develop and really get a chance at first team football? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments, and I'll catch you in the next part of this video. I think is massive, especially heading into a championship campaign where you've got 2 extra spaces on the bench, that these young players give themselves the best possible opportunity when they play for a first team. And hopefully that's something which Niall can do if he does get the opportunity to train with the first team. So he is 17 years old, capped at youth level. But let's take a look into his 2022-23 season. Now, in 22-23, he really did make that step up into the under-18s. He played around 6 full games with 596 minutes. It's just over 6.5 games with 13 appearances, 2 goals and 1 assist. He also in that time period played on, I believe it is 8 occasions for the Republic of Ireland, in which they didn't lose a game while he was on the pitch, which I think is something really impressive to say. He also scored a goal versus Scotland at their home venue back in April of that year, I think it was. It may even have been November. The dates on transfer market really throw me off. But he's put in some really good performances at international level. He's put in some really good performances in under-18s level. But did he step on heading into the 23-24 season? And I'd say yes, he did. He made 7 appearances for the under-21s where he scored twice, and he became absolutely pivotal to the under-18 side where he made 16 appearances, scoring 8 goals, assisting 6. He also made a couple of appearances in the FA Youth Cup, and over the course of the season he played 24 games, 10 goals, 6 assists and 1,477 minutes. Now, his record with his international team did come to an end when they lost 2 games over this season. But in the other games, they picked up 2 draws and a win. Now, the win, he only played a minute in, but it's an international cap nonetheless for his nation, something which he and his family can be massively proud of. I do think that his dad follows me on Instagram. So if you are watching this, let me know down in the comments. Really impressive player in my opinion. He's really set the under-18s alight this season, and hopefully next season he can make that step up to the under-21s and really make a name for himself within Derby and get himself maybe some opportunities to train with the first team, maybe even a match day experience with the first team. We know that sometimes Derby take extra youngsters. I know it was a big thing back with Wayne Rooney. He used to take the likes of Cade Gordon and Amari Kellyman to games. Obviously, those two both got massive moves, one to Villa and one to Liverpool. So I think that's something which I hope Derby still do. I think it would be good for them youngsters to get that experience. I know sometimes the third goalkeeper sometimes is Jack Thompson or Harry Evans, which I think is really good experience for them as well. So maybe next season, Niall may get an opportunity like that to be with the first team. But if we do look over the course of his career so far, it claims he's made 8 caps, scoring 1 goal. Maybe a few more than that at younger age groups and stuff like that, but I'm not entirely sure. But then within Derby County, he's made 37 appearances, scoring 12 goals, 7 assists in 2,073 minutes. And I think those numbers are really, really good. It's going to be really interesting to see how he develops over the next few years. A bit like Dan Cox, he's not yet signed professional terms. I think I mentioned that earlier. So that's going to be something that he's going to be working towards over not just this off-season, but going into next year, making sure he can get himself a signature on a professional contract to stay at Derby County. He may even look elsewhere, who knows? But it's one of those things where I think he's definitely got all the ability to be able to make it to first team level if he puts himself in the right positions. I think Paul Warne, Jake Buxton, Matt Hale have got a really important job on their hands, managing his way through the 21s into the first team. I do think we've got a real talent on our hands here, and I do think if he does get those opportunities to play senior men's football, whether that be with a loan spell out or even with our own first team, I think it's definitely something which Derby should look at. Obviously, we've got a bit of a dearth of midfielders at the moment, and that's a position which he can play, as you can see by this position chart. Now, when I've watched him, when I was at the academy, he was more of a central midfielder, but obviously he's shown that he has the ability to go all the way through midfield from sitting to the number 10 position. He can also play on the left-hand side. So it will be interesting to see how the club pushes forward with his development. Will they keep him as a central-minded player, or will they push him out wide? Because obviously he does have the ability, in my opinion, to play on either wing. Could probably play through the middle as a number 9 as well, but obviously he's not done that. But I do think he has the physique and technical ability to be able to play as a back-to-goal number 9. So it's going to be very interesting to see how Derby County do deal with the development of Niall. Will they offer him a professional contract? There's some big names coming through our academy. You've already got the likes of Dejon Brown, who set the world alight at Gateshead. Obviously, Kai Robinson and Cruz Allen have both signed professional terms. Jack Thompson's also signed professional terms. You've also then got the likes of like Dan Cox, Nile as well, who are looking to make their way into the first team. So it's going to be really interesting to see how the club handles it. Is he going to get some like work experience loan sort of thing where he goes to a non-league club for a few weeks or something? It's going to be really interesting to see how it's handled. And he does have, in my opinion, a massive career ahead of him. Now, do I think he should go and play non-league football and things like that? Probably not quite. I think he really needs to establish himself within our under-23s. I think he's done an excellent job for the under-18s this season. I think next season is his real chance to really break into that under-21 side and really make a name for himself there, where I think once he can sort of prove that under-21s isn't really going to benefit him anymore, where he can get a loan spell out to someone of the likes of Gateshead, maybe a Grimsby Town, maybe a Dorking Wanderers, someone down there within sort of like the conference or the National League North, National League South, maybe a little below, just to see sort of where the level's at, because down there you can do sort of like 1 month loans and things like that and then reassess it. And I think that's going to be massive for all of these players' careers who I've spoke about over the past few days. Obviously, I think especially with the likes of Kai Robinson and Dan Cox, I think getting them senior men's football experience and learning a few tricks of the trade from some experienced players and like lower down the ranks, I think will be absolutely massive. I think it's something that with our academy graduates we haven't done a lot of coming up through the academy. I think there's so many times we've not utilised the loan market for those players to give them the best possible opportunity of success. You look back to the likes of Max Bird, broke into the team at 16 and never really sort of moved away from the first team after breaking in then. You've got Louis Sibley, pretty similar. Jason Knight as well. None of them really got those sort of development loans, and I'm not saying that every player needs it, but I think it is massively helpful for those players. And I think if you can learn a few tricks of the trade off some experienced professionals, obviously you go lower down the levels, you still have ex-pros playing down there who can teach these players a thing or two about playing in tight spaces and dictating games, and they can learn off them. And I think obviously we have players at the club who they can learn off as well, but I think when you're going through that development phase, sometimes it's good to get out the bubble of the club you're at and going and playing somewhere else where you're not an up-and-coming prospect, let's say, who has this reputation. You're someone who goes in sort of with nothing. Now, obviously, the best example for me is Dejan Brown. Went into Gateshead, had to earn his spot, scored goals, and really made a name for himself. And I think he's put himself in the window for first team opportunities for next year. But it is going to be interesting to see how Derby County handle these young players coming through. Obviously, there's a lot more than just the four I've spoke about over the past 4 or 5 days. There's obviously a lot more coming up, but it's going to be interesting to see how the under-18s and under-21s get on next season. Obviously, the 21s have struggled a bit over the past few seasons, and I don't think it's for the want of bad performances or anything like that. I think they've just been really unlucky, especially last season. Some of the results, I think they were very, very unlucky, conceding late goals and things like that, and it's all about learning game management. And at the 21s and 18s level, yes, you want to win games, but it is all about development down there, and that's something that us fans need to remember when we're looking at those results coming in. As if we don't see the performance, it's hard to judge a game, in my opinion. And I've seen a lot of the way Jake Buxton handled the 18s when I was at the academy and as an analyst, and I think there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that a lot of people don't know about, and it's really well dealt with for development side of things, the way they create player programs and things like that, and the meetings and things like that, for even all the way down to under 9s, they're creating pre and post match meetings, which I think it's really good to get the players into the mindset of where they need to be and what they need to be able to understand when they do get to that professional level. Now, obviously, you add detail as it goes up the years, and that's just one of the things which we're going to have to see how it develops over the next few years for Derby County. There's a lot of young players coming through. Obviously, Case Gordon won, I think it was Scholar of the Year. You then got Dejan Brown winning some awards, Cashin, Young Player of the Year. So there's players coming through the academy. It's going to be really interesting to see how Paul Warne and the team handle it. So let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Do you think McAndrew will make the first team over the next few years? Let me know your thoughts down below. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and I'll catch you in my next video. Make sure to go and find me on TikTok, pictured here, and Twitter, pictured here. These are the places where I'll keep you all up to date with all my upcoming videos and my thoughts and feelings around the Formula 1 and football weekend.